is widening. The rumble of the drums of discontent resounding throughout this land are heard in all parts of the world.
Good morning. You're watching To Be Equal, brought to you by the Urban League of Nebraska, and I'm Connie Rountree, your host. My guest today is Elon Cunningham, who is the site director for the Native American Community Development Center with the JOPA program, and Mr. Bob Martinez, who is the director for the American GI Forum, Public Relations Director.
Public Relations, yes.
Okay. Today our conversation is going to be on Stand Up and Be Counted in reference to the upcoming census taking, which is for the year 1990. We're going to be talking to you people in our community as a whole, and in particular about the Afro community, the Native American community, and the Hispanic community, and why we should pay particular attention and participate in the census taking process. Elon, let me ask you something. The JOPA program, which stands for Job Training Partnership Act.
Yes.
Okay. What is the, give us some details about that program, and what is your function as director?
Okay. I work for the Native American Community Development here in Omaha, Nebraska. The main office is based out of Lincoln, and so that's why they call me the site director here. And the Job Training Partnership Act program for the Native Americans here in Omaha provide 5 different activities to the people that come to our center that need the help. We work with classroom training, which would involve GED programs for the people that want to get their high school diploma and further themselves and, you know, to be more employable. And then if they want to go into higher education, we help them with that. And then we have OJT. A lot of people get those initials mixed up,
right.
JTPA and OJT. OJT means on-the-job training. And we would go out and find an employer that would help provide training assistance to this person, and we pay half the wages and they pay half. And the only hitch there is that we like to tell the people that if they going to train them, we would like for you to keep them on working there. And then we have our JSA program, Job Search Assistance, and that mainly deals with helping that person find employment no matter what, you know, field they're looking for. We try to help find jobs that suit them. And then we provide work experience slots and community service employees for the Native American Corporation. There are 2 different slots that would help people be employed working at the center, and you know, while they're there, they get the experience of working with the different agency programs that we have there.
Where's your center located?
We're located at 2226 Leavenworth Street.
Now, is the service that you provide available for both urban Native Americans and folks who come in from the reservations?
Yes, yes. We provide, the summer months is when we have the most people that come from the reservation. And the population for the Native American is so movable during the summer months. And when they come through, we try to help whatever, you know, programs that we have for them to give to them.
Okay. And we're going to address that question a little later on in the program about the mobility of people in our respective communities. You raised a point when you said something in reference to that you hope that the jobs are available once the people go through the training. And over the years, you know, that's been a question that's been raised about the different federal programs that come into the communities, provide funds for jobs that are not available once the training is completed. So that's a very valid point that you make. Bob, with the American GI Forum, tell us about that. What is that program about?
Well, it's not really a program. It's a community-based organization. The American GI Forum was founded in 1948 by Dr. Hector P. Garcia in the state of Texas. It started because of some racial injustices that were happening to returning World War II veterans when they came back to the States and some problems they did have. In 1958, some of the local Hispanic veterans were asked by Dr. Garcia to bring the American GI Forum to the state of Nebraska. The GI Forum is now a national organization. It was started out as a veterans group, but now it's truly a Hispanic veterans organization / community-based organizations where the entire family gets involved. There's men chapters, there's women chapters, there's youth chapters. The GI Forum really doesn't have a large name within the Omaha community or in the Midwest because we're not a hotbed of people of color type of environment. So we do have an identity crisis, not a negative one, but rather a lack of one. Here locally, we do have 8 chapters within our community, and all the members are volunteers. Even the state chairman is a volunteer, and the state chairwoman is a volunteer also.
Let's talk about the initials GI. And that's, you know, people say, oftentimes when they talk about the GI form, well, what is that? What does GI stand for? We get it, and I hope it's not a confusion.
No,
It doesn't mean government issue, does it?
Yes, it does.
It does, okay.
Yes, it does. Well, we started off as a veterans organization, so they kind of tied in the GI with the name of the organization.
Okay. And where's the headquarters located here in Omaha?
Well, out of the 8 chapters, 2 chapters, the Omaha Men's Chapter and the Omaha Women's Chapter have a building located at 2002 N Street in South Omaha. It's a chapter clubhouse. Also, it's a restaurant. Many people do know it because of the restaurant they do have and the food they serve. The rest of the chapters work out of their own homes. That's what I think is the most noteworthy aspect of the American GI Forum, is there's so many volunteers working out of their own homes after their full-time jobs. They meet at various places, and they do get a lot of activities accomplished just on a volunteer basis.
Let's go back, Eli, to you, and let's talk about the response to both the activities. How are people responding to the JOPA program and to the Native American Center, as a matter of fact?
We get quite a few people coming through our program because on the reservation there is very little work there, and so they have to go into different areas, you know, in the state. And we have quite a few coming through, but a lot of times, like I said before, the jobs, depends on the season, depends on what they need, you know. And so we try to provide whatever we can. Even though I work with employment, I get into like people wanting general assistance, emergency assistance. I mean, they come in here and sometimes they're just coming in with carloads of people, and then we're like, you're here for a job, but you got other problems that we have to solve before we find a job. So.
I was going to save this question for later on, but I want to ask it now because of what you're leading me into here. You know, there's a myth, as there is amongst all people, that all Native Americans receive a big fat government check. What about that?
Yeah, I wish I got that check.
Yeah, right.
But that is exactly what you're stating. It is a myth. Each tribe is individual. At one time, I heard there was 200 and some odd tribes in the United States. So now, you know, if there's 200 and some tribes and everybody got a check, why would we even need reservations and whatever else that we have to live on and depend on the government like that? So, you know, we're just like everybody else, and I was born and raised here. So learning how to get out and find a job and do things for myself, I had to learn that. And the reservation, Native American comes here, and they're lost. A lot of them are lost, and they're, you know, they need the help that we can provide there, so that's why we're there.
I think it's a noteworthy factor is that JTPA is a training program. I think some people who are not familiar with that program, they might have the tendency to believe it's an assistance program, but it's really not an assistance program where you're receiving some funding. What you're being trained for employment opportunities to go into a field and to fend for yourself, basically, to be more productive. They're doing a lot of work down there, and it's really great.
I think in the Hispanic community we have Sarah, don't we?
Sarah, yeah, Sarah Jobs for Progress.
Right, right.
That's also a subdivision, really, of the American GI Forum. The American GI Forum helped to found that with LULAC, another Hispanic organization.
Okay. You seem to be up on your history, Bob, so let me ask you the question. The first one in reference to the topic of the program, and we call that, you know, stand up and be counted in reference to the census. Tell us something about the census taking process. When did it begin, and what is it all about?
Well, the census has been conducted every 10 years since 1790. It's constitutionally mandated, and the need for the census, it gives us information about who we are, where we're at, what we're doing, where we're moving to, how much money we make. I mean, just about everything that you really do need to know. And it's not used just by the government, it's used by everybody. Markets, economic markets, legislative bodies, and even the JTPA. A lot of their funding comes from the number of people within their community. So it helps everybody.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that it's a constitutional requirement. And so in other words, we're talking about something that's set in law within these United States. That, you know, we have to take the census, and where we as citizens ought to respond to that. Later on, we'll talk about all the reasons why and how, within our cultural differences, why it's important that we all respond to census taking. Historically, I guess maybe because of certain kind of, when we're talking about confidentiality also, because of certain kind of myths, people ran from census takers. And I know they did in the Afro-American community out of fear and apprehension about what was going to happen with their name, with their income, how it would affect them in a negative way.
You know, getting back to that mandated aspect of the census, some people do think, because the census is a national project, you feel a sense of nationalism. I mean, it's one of the very few times the whole nation comes together for an event. And some people feel that it's almost a voluntary basis. Well, if I can help out, I can. But it is mandated. That means you have to send it back. We need you to send it back. We need you, we want you, but you have to. It's law. You really do have to send it back.
You know, I hope that someday it will become law that every American citizen over the age of 18 has to vote, too.
Really.
That's a different subject matter, but it does relate to almost, and has a correlation with census taking. People are apprehensive about it. If they don't do it, it's not going to matter. Who am I? And this kind of thing. Same attitude toward voting, and we've got to try and change that.
And like, you know, a lot of them don't understand. So that's why it's so important for shows like this to educate the people why you should do this, you know. And like he said, with the federal funding, the government money's coming in for all these agencies, we need that count. We need them people to know that.
Absolutely. And let's get into the fine details, because I think this might help people in the viewing audience to understand why these individuals, why you as a group are important when it comes to census taking and how it affects your community. Elan, in talking about that, let's talk about the upcoming census date. When is that going to begin?
Well, by April 1st, most of the households in the United States will be mailed out a questionnaire. And at that time, they have an opportunity to answer and send it back. And at a later date, if you know, if they don't send them back, and then they'll have other people come out to the homes and trying to get the information that's so important for us to have, you know.
Right. And let's repeat that again. They're going to receive a questionnaire through the mail, every household in the United States.
First.
They're going to fill out that questionnaire and return it, okay? If you fail to return that, then somebody will knock on your door.
You will get a visit.
Okay, you'll get a visit. Okay, sounds kind of like you better do that, right? Okay.
Well, even the visit might not even be to force you to fill it out. Maybe you need assistance. Some people might receive the questionnaire and believe it's some junk mail. Or not see the importance of it.
Not understand the questions or whatever. So it's that person going out to not intimidate them, but just to ask the questions.
I heard a figure about 2 weeks ago on the news, one of the network news shows, that it was stated that for every 1% increase in return of the questionnaires across the nation, it's going to save the United States $13 million for every 1% increase. That's phenomenal.
It is. It is. $13 million.
For 1%.
Yeah. What can we do with that kind of money?
Many ideals. Many ideals.
People are going to ask the question, you know, and I keep comparing that to the question that you get during voter registration days, you know. Why should I, as a citizen, okay, even bother with giving the information to a census taker? Why should I bother?
Well, like, we work in programs where the people don't know, even today, they are provided services if, you know, well, they don't, I mean, they take, okay, let me start over. They are getting services that would, that they're using today that the census helped make these programs, you know, existence for these, like the elderly program at our agency, and then we have the JTPA program, various programs within our agency. The people are there using it now, and that's really important for them to know. If they don't, you know, let themselves be counted, a lot of this monies won't be there for them to use in the future.
That's an interesting point Elan pointed out. We're receiving benefits from the 1980 census right now. A lot of that came out of the 1980 census is helping Elan to get funding down in her program. They use statistical information from the Census Bureau. When they want to find out how many people live within a community, how many of a specific group, they go to the Census Bureau information, and that's what they go by. And tax dollars or revenue dollars and funding is allocated according to the number of people that you have within your area. It could be households, it could be of an ethnic group, it could be of low-income group, various groups. I like to also point out that census is not only important for the Native American community, the black community, the Hispanic community, it's important for the community as a whole.
As a whole.
I mean, to get an accurate representational count of the Hispanics in the city of Omaha, sure, it helps the Hispanics because it gives us a better standing as far as what we believe is an accurate count. But if we get an accurate count and our numbers increase, it's going to benefit the Omaha community also.
Absolutely. You know, with that, Elan and Bob, we're going to have to pause for a commercial break and ask our viewing audience to please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
that loving is wrong or right. But if you're into loving, you could create a brand new life.
Can you make a new one happy? If not, here's some advice for you. Think before you do.
The Omaha Federation of Labor and Adam Hall of the Easter Seal Society joined these men and women who represent organized labor in our community in encouraging you to support the 1989 United Way Chad campaign. Your donations help to support 53 health and human service agencies in the Omaha Council Bluffs area. United Way Chad, it brings out the best in all of us.
Welcome back. You're watching To Be Cool, brought to you by the Urban League of Nebraska. I'm Kearney Rountree, your host. Again, my guest today is Elon Cunningham, who is the site director for the Native American Community Development Center, the JOPA program, Job Training Partnership Act.
Right.
Right, okay.
Right.
And Bob Martinez, who is with the American GI Forum and Director of Public Relations, okay? And again, our subject matter today is Stand Up and Be Counted. We're talking about the importance of participating in the census-taking process that's now taking place in our community, and will actually begin April of 1990. Somewhere in April. Prior to coming into our second half of our show, but we were talking about it, Elon, you mentioned 1980 census, and we talked about all the things that have happened, not that great big bundle of joy kind of thing, but some things have brought about a change between 1980 and 1990. Let's go back into that. And something in particular has happened, I think Bob mentioned with your center, in terms of funding.
Mm-hmm. At one time, people figured that agencies like ours had plentiful money, and they didn't realize that in order for us to get the money, we had to show the need, the count of the people, and so on. And at one time, the money was there, and now anymore, we're getting cut back every year. So that's more crucial for us to count the people, to let them know there is a need for the money and for the existing programs. And they're saying, well, why should I be counted? Because right today, you're using those services. You're here enjoying some of these services, and if you want to continue to enjoy them, be counted so we know that the funding will be there in the future for us.
Right. Okay, not only that, but I think maybe oftentimes we find that the numbers count is oftentimes low and less than what the number of people that are actually in a given community. Mm-hmm. I know we're talking about sometimes 45,000 to 50,000 Afro-Americans was in Omaha since I was a child. And I know that, there's been growth, okay? Yes. And I'm sure that the same might be true in other communities. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why the census is very important in ways in which it affects us economically, politically, and socially. Mm-hmm. Okay. What about, here we were talking about earlier, why should I give the information as a citizen to a census taker? And because there's so much apprehension and fear in terms of social workers, I think we talked about that earlier, Bob, where I come by in a three-piece suit with an attaché case, it scares the hell out of folks, okay? Mm-hmm. And they shy away from us. What about the confidentiality, Bob, in the program? Does information leak out?
No. The confidentiality aspect of the census is that the information you do give to the Bureau of the Census is confidential for 72 years. If, for an example, to get an employment position with the census when they're having this activity, you have to take a test, a skills assessment test. And your test score is not even given to you. If you get hired, you cannot even get your test score, even though it was your own test. You cannot get that information because of the confidentiality aspect of it. No, none of the information goes anywhere. It's just for statistical purposes.
Now, you mentioned 72 years. I mean, are they looking at life expectancy there or something or what?
I don't know where that number, I read that on a poster. Okay. I thirst for information, so I found that. There's a lot of information out about the Census Bureau. I was at the Private Industry Council meeting this morning, and there was conversation going on between the members about the census. Wherever you go, it seems like you're starting to pick up that the census is coming. People are starting to talk about it. Your program, the census is coming. I think as time goes on, everybody will find out about the census, and it's really commendable that people are taking an active role like yourself to get the word out.
Right. Okay. And earlier we touched on, okay, if folks have trouble once they receive the questionnaire, okay, and need help let's go back into that and talk about, where that help might be available. What do they need to do? And what are some of the reasons why people shy away from the census?
Misunderstanding, not understanding why the information is so important. And when the questionnaires get sent out around April 1st, I hope they answer them, send them back. If not, we have an agency that would, provide assistance if they can't read or they don't understand. And for some reason, we will be there, or we'll try to be there. I myself would like to be there, And if I think they would feel comfortable about coming to our agency with this questionnaire because, like you said, people come in with their three-piece suit, look intimidating, and they're saying, well, why should I give this information? I don't even know you. How do I know you're a census taker? And so, I would like to make them feel as comfortable as possible by answering the questions.
Okay. And I don't know whether I should feel uncomfortable or not saying it. But, here again, let's talk about some special circumstances that might very well relate to our respective communities, okay, as well as the community at large. Mobility within the Native American community from the reservation to the urban area. How does that affect the census?
That's going to be tough because, when people move around so much like that, it's hard to keep track of them in any program anyway. But, if we could just at least tell them that, if you don't answer it on the reservation, when you come to the urban area, and if you're going to stay for a while, you give somebody the information. Let us, if you don't understand it, we'll go over it with you, but we need to get you counted somewhere, no matter where you're going to be at.
It's not only for the people in households. The questionnaires are mailed to the households because that's the best means to get in contact with people. But if you're a mobile family or individual, and if you're living within our community, we need to know that. We need to know a little bit about you. Even for the people that are homeless, they're technically living within our community, of course.
Right.
Of course, they do not have shelter, but we need to know a little bit about them also. And it's important to get the word out and to make these contacts.
Is there any certain time of the year, Elon, when people begin to move? I guess what I'm leading to is it easier maybe if census data was being gathered, say, before the movement took place to the city, or from the city back to the reservation, where you'd actually be able to be in touch with folks?
The summer months.
Summer months are better?
Summer months for us because even way up into March, that's when the powwow season happens. And powwows happen in every state around the United States. And so you have people, I've had people in our office from Alaska, Oklahoma, Florida, and they might just come through just that one time, So if they're in the process of traveling through these months, and they don't understand what census is all about, hopefully somebody will catch them along the route wherever they're going, And so the summer months for the Native Americans is a really mobile time for them.
Okay. What about the tribal language, and I'm getting at here is so that people in our audience will understand that within our state, within our country, there's several different tribes, that speak several different languages. How does that have an effect?
Okay. The elderly, I worry about. The younger generation, everybody knows English. The older people that I come in contact with, if I know, I'm from Omaha, and I can speak Omaha language, very little. If I can say hello, how are you, in their language, they feel real comfortable. But I can't always say that to everybody because every tribe is different, the traditions and culture. And but I guess just knowing that I'm Indian and I can speak a native language, that they'll just feel comfortable talking to me.
Right.
And I think that would be really important for the older Native Americans to understand that, when we do this, if you can't read it in English, and I can't translate it to you in the native language, we'll try to get it to you to where we'll have you understand it some way, so that we can at least get the information we need.
Bob, let me ask the same question to you. We say Hispanic. What does that intake? And what's the bilingual difference there?
Well, the Hispanic community is not a single community. It's a very diverse community. You have some first-generation Hispanics who are maybe just new to the country, or maybe are undocumented individuals, or they just recently received their citizenship. And because of that, they might not be bilingual. They might speak Spanish only. some of the efforts we'd like to see, in which the Census Bureau is conducting, is the possibility of hiring bilingual people to perform the census, to go up into the door and ask the questions on the questionnaire. Now, if that person speaks Spanish only, and if you have a bilingual individual, you stand a better chance of getting that information. Like Elan was talking about going into her community, she'd like to do that. She might be easily identifiable to them, just like I would be in the South Omaha community. I would be easily identifiable as Hispanic. And just the ease of having another Hispanic come to the door might help alleviate some fears that, well, this is the government or Big Brother, you know, coming to get the information about me. Because to be honest about it, some people are doing things that are a little bit dishonest. At times, maybe they have multiple families within one household, and, you know, their lease says you cannot have that. Now, if they get the questionnaire, they're going to send it back, and they're going to say, well, we only have just one household living here, one family living with this household. But in fact, maybe they have 4 families in there, but we need to know that. And it's not going anywhere. We just need to know who's there.
Okay. We've got less than 2 minutes left in this show. Let me ask you a question. I know this is taking place in our communities now. Jobs. Are jobs available now for people who want to participate in census taking?
Well, the Census Bureau is recruiting employment opportunities. They're looking for people to go work within their own community to apply for various positions and do the census questionnaires. And I know they're actively trying to find and recruit individuals.
Okay. I guess the bottom line is, after all we've said here, what's going to happen if we don't answer? What can happen if we don't answer the census?
Well, you could get in trouble.
Get in trouble, and plus the services that are being provided might not be, you know, their count needs to be included somewhere. It's very important for them to understand that.
Okay, with 1 minute or less in the show, have we improved? Are more people in our community now answering the census? I mean, have those numbers increased from 1980, well, I guess not from 1980, from 1970 up to 1980, as opposed to a few years ago when very few people answered the census? Have you seen any changes?
Well, the Hispanic community, even though there are some claims of an undercount, they've shown a dramatic increase in their count as a population. So, of course, the census is doing their job then if they did get that count for us.
Okay. Let's give a number that people can call if they want more information.
I believe the Census Bureau number is 342-6090. That is here in Omaha.
342-6090. Okay. Elan, Bob, I want to thank the both of you for appearing on To Be Equal today. And I hope that we've been able to impart some information to you that will be helpful to you, and that has educated you in reference to why you should participate in the census-taking process. We've been watching To Be Equal, brought to you by the Relief of Nebraska, and I'm Carter Roundtree, your host.
I was putting in a lot of late hours at the office. The pressure was really getting...